Damn it. No. Maybe? That won't work.
Dave, you okay? What are you going on about?
Oh, I'm just working on my next character, and I went with the standard array. I had this 8 that I have to put somewhere. I'm thinking about putting it in con.
Dude, I need to talk to you about D&D stats explained and the one stat that you do not dump.
Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Steve, and as usual, I'm joined by this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
Are you looking for more D&D videos? If so, bolster yourself up, click the subscribe button, and let those D&D videos rain through your feed.
And if it's more Nerdarchy you're after, then you might want to beef yourself up with that notification bell.
You know, Ted, today we're talking about dump stats, and this kind of goes with character development and fleshing out your characters. Well, you know, if you're a dungeon master or an aspiring author, you need the right tool to help you flush out your characters. So I think it's only fair that we mention this is a sponsored video by Campfire Blaze. It is their new updated version of Campfire Technologies. A great authoring tool, just got better. If you're struggling to finish your manuscript, then the next 50 seconds are going to be invaluable to you. Campfire Blaze is a browser-based suite of tools to help you keep your writing organized, collaborate with your friends in real time, or by yourself to flesh out every facet of your story or world. Develop your manuscript in Blaze's word processor, create characters, design your plot, and world build without restrictions. When you're done, easily share your story with your friends and fans. Expand Blaze's free version to purchase the tools you need and own them forever. Alternatively, build your own subscription so you're only paying for the features you need. Add modules for as little as 50 cents or lock everything for a few dollars per month with a 30-day return policy. Keep up with the next generation of writers that are ditching napkins, scribbles, and disorganized spreadsheets by upgrading to Campfire Blaze. You deserve writing software that can visually organize the most complex plots you can dream up and build those better worlds. Write better stories faster with Campfire Blaze. It's free during October's open beta, so check out the link in the description below.
All right, so I think, Dave covered everything with that. Wow. Whew.
I got to use my monster truck voice and everything.
So, check out the link down in the description. Check out Campfire Blaze and all of the great, authoring tools and world building tools that are incorporated therein.
All right, man. We're going to talk about dump stats. This time, we're going to look at Constitution, and I don't think I've ever intentionally dumped Con. But you know what? You might have story reasons for doing it. So, let's kind of take a look at what happens.
So, if you're going to make a character that has decided, or if you're going to make a character that has a low constitution and you've decided that you want to go down this route, you have to ask, what is it that caused you to have that? Did something happen to make you go that, that below average? We know, those who got into Dragonlance are familiar with Raistlin and his perpetual health problems until he becomes a god and what have you. But those kind of things, or those kind of characters are out there, and you really need to have a story reason. Did you get sick like Raistlin? Were you just born unhealthy? Does your world have some kind of plague that affected a number of people and you were one of them? Having some kind of story reason for why you dump a stat is always something that helps builds who that character is.
Yeah, I mean, are you gonna role play like your character's always getting sick and catching colds, getting the flu, has bad allergies? Like all of these can kind of go into it. But let's also talk about now, what are the pitfalls of a low con?
That's difficult. When you're making, saving throws that deal with Constitution, they usually come with, serious detrimental, effects. They could be, it's going to just straight up kill you. It's going to paralyze you. It's going to turn you into an undead. Constitution is just bad. So having, especially if you went with a class that doesn't give you a con save, to just have a negative straight off the bat. Oh man, that's rough. And then of course, you have to factor in the point that you're going to lose one off of every single hit die when you gain a level, as opposed to gaining or not.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned these nasty effects that will target your Constitution saving throw, but the one thing you didn't mention is hit points, effects, right? You mentioned like you're going to have lower hit points because of that con, but a lot of times, they're damaging effects. They're very specific to like the one character. They usually do a lot of damage, and at this point, I would prefer to be paralyzed or something, because I have a better chance of surviving that than not having it, than not having any hit points or having your maximum lowered. These could be catastrophic effects for this character. They're going to hurt. Like you said, if this isn't a good saving throw for you, it's going to be bad. You're going to get poisoned easier than anybody else, and it's just a rough stat to dump. And also, a lot of times with the other stats, you can swap them out, right? If you have a low strength, your dex can take over for some things and vice versa, or there's other ways around it. There's no way around a low constitution. You just have a low constitution. Oh, you have a low dex, but you can use heavy weapons and use your strength instead and slather on heavy armor. Not a problem. Oh, you're weak and you have a low strength. Well, high dex will up your armor class and get you moving around. You can use lighter weapons, and your attacking will not be affected. This is going to be a problem. You got a low intelligence? Well, your probably character doesn't use it for anything, right? Same with wisdom and same with charisma. Everybody uses Constitution.
Everybody uses Constitution. Everybody has hit points. And beyond the spells that, straight up, do damage, what about those spells that incorporate an effect based off of a target number of hit points, like the sleep spell and those kind of effects? Okay, well, if you have a lower threshold because you are taking one off of every hit die that you get, like, all right, what if you went in that case like this?
Power kill. Sorry, my low con is affected by my allergies.
Wow. I was gonna build up to power word kill and the power word spells in general, but like if you have a low con, it probably means that you are not going to be a martial character, which means you are probably operating off of a lower hit die to begin with. Because if you're going to be in melee combat, you don't want to have that low constitution. So, all right, now I'm going with the factor of I'm playing a wizard or I'm playing a sorcerer. I'm not going to be in melee combat. It's not as bad. I'm going to sit in the back and I'm going to range spells. Maybe I'm going to, try to be smart and use my intelligence, and I'm going to try to get cover, and I'm going to do what have you. But there's still going to be area effects. There's still going to be spells that require saving throws. And those hit points are going to come into, they're going to become the call fairly often. Well, all right, what if you want to play the gambling route? Okay, well, I only get 4 hit points per level, but I have a low con, so I'm only getting 3 per level. Ouch, that's pretty rough. 8 hit points at level 2 and 11 hit points at level 3. I mean, there's barbarians that, all barbarians start off with more hit points than that unless you've dumped con too. So, as those levels build, those things decrease. All right, so what do? Do you play the odds and roll? Well, then it's possible for you to literally get nothing, because if you roll a 1, you get 0 hit points for that level.
Well,
that means
I think you get a minimum of 1.
All right, well, depending upon how your DM wants to play, but I've definitely been in games where, I've seen negative con, and it's like, all right, roll it up. Oh, nope, you got a 1. That's nada. So you can definitely see some serious hardships at the table.
In those games, Ted, what happened if you rolled a 1 and you had more than a negative 1? Did you lose a hit point?
I don't recall that specific example ever having come up, because those kind of things did exist in 2nd edition, which is where I had gotten my start. And back then some of the DMs were ruthless. It was a battle line drawn between player and GM, and we've talked many times on the channel about the adversarial DM of ages past. But like, you can definitely go down that road. So like, it's dangerous to drop that con. And as Dave pointed out, all those higher level spells that just have that threshold. And how high a level do you really have to be at getting 3 hit points a level to cross that, 100-point threshold? Can you get there? Don't think so. Not with 20 levels.
So I believe you have 63 hit points at 20th level if you're a spellcaster with a D6 and you have a -1 con and you never do anything to get more hit points.
Yeah, that's rough.
So I guess the question is, what are some ways to overcome your low con? I mean, you mentioned, well, you can try and stay in the back and hide from these effects, but you also brought up the point, if you're in the area of an effect, well, that's not going to help you, even if you're staying away. You have any suggestions?
So, like, as I said, you could definitely go for cover to help, boost your armor class. That isn't going to help with the targeted attacks that require a saving throw.
It'll help your dex. It'll help your dex saves.
Yes. But, there are magic items that are out there that have the ability to bolster yourself up. There are, potions and things, and especially if you have DMs who are, creative on the fly. I know I've used in games where I've given potions that have just given, bonus max hit points. There are spells that are going to give temporary hit points or just improve like your max goes up by, a certain amount for the duration of the spell. So like those are things that you definitely wanted to, be on the lookout for, or, bring into your party tactic conversations if you're going down that road.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned magic items. Amulet of Health will just straight up bring your con to a 19. God forbid something happens and then someone takes it off of you. You just might die. But that would definitely fix a low con. You mentioned spells. The aid spell is your friend. Get buddy with that cleric as soon as possible. The more
Hero's Feast.
Yeah. Does that raise your maximum, or is it just temporary?
That raises your maximum.
Yeah. So things like that are going to be super helpful for you. And, you might need to think about mitigating in other ways. Like if you're a caster and you can somehow get access to absorb elements, be able to take half damage as a reaction, could literally save your life. Maybe you have a nature cleric in the party, be like, hey, you want to save that protection from elements that you got for me, please, buddy? Can you get Death Ward cast on you? Can you cast Death Ward because you're likely to use it? So those are definitely some things. And also Death Ward is great because if someone Power Word kills you, it'll stop that as well. So that's super useful. But trying to stay out of the thick of things, combined with not grouping up with other characters to make yourself less attractive for that area of effect, maybe.
Anything that's going to improve your saving throws, like Bless, that'll be helpful, as well. Anything that's going to help mitigate damage. So, like, you could even take, if there are particular type of saving throws, like, hey, I'm not good at con saves, perhaps taking, the feat that gives you proficiency in con saves might be a direction that you might need to go.
Also, you mentioned things that give you a bonus to saving throws. So there are quite a few magic items, but two of the most common are probably Ring and Cloak of Protection, +1 to all saves, +1 to armor class. Those are literally two of my favorite magic items. They're kind of vanilla and boring, but they're effective.
Indeed.
So, in earlier editions, Constitution was a bit of a different story. I mean, you started telling started telling some stories a little bit about earlier editions and how adversarial GMs could be. But I remember, I believe this was the first game run for the group that would later kind of become Nerdarchy. Was one of the players was playing a Necromancer Drow in AD&D. They were, I don't know, it was a 5th level or 7th level, and they had like 15 hit points.
Yes, we were 7th level characters when all was said and done, and he totally had like 15, 16 hit points.
Yeah, I mean, also like in previous edition, like all the racial adjustments were you got a bonus to certain stats and penalty to other stats. And then elves always got a penalty to con. So if you're playing an elf, your chances of starting with a negative con modifier was much better than anyone else. And elves are also a very popular race for people to play. So like most elf players had to figure out offsetting that low con and put a higher stat in there so they didn't get a penalty.
And back in the day, we didn't always get the ability to assign stats. With that particular game, I think we did, but there was a time where like we were rolling, and you would roll your character, and your stats were in the order that you rolled them. So whatever your number 3 was, that was your con. Whatever you got, you got. So it's definitely challenging. And when you come in saying, I want to play this type of character, this is what I'm most interested in, and you get that low stat, you know what? It is what it is. You just run with it. There's definitely a lot more freedom and flow with how the game is designed now.
There was also effects that could aid you in previous. They're here now too, but the reason why I bring this up, because they were worse in previous editions. Because when you suffered an aging effect, you would take the physical detriments, which there were, like in the game there aren't now. But as you aged, you had categories, and each category lowered your physical stats and would increase your mental stats. But it was even worse if it magically happened to you, because then you got the detriments without the benefits. It was just kind of bad.
Yeah, you got minuses based on which age category to strength, dex, and or constitution, and it wound up being like a number of points to each of those 3 physical stats, and you would get bonuses, as Dave says, to intelligence or wisdom, as you went up through these categories, middle age, elder, and venerable, or whatever the 3 different categories were. But like you were suffering like a -6 physical for like a +4 mental, by the end. So like you could totally like, yeah, I'm gonna make this character, and I totally want to be an old elf. I'm 900 years old, and your mentals would be great, but your physicals could be utterly soft.
Well, not only that, you could age to death right in the game. If you were a character that had a poor con already and you were playing like a wizard, you had to die for your hit points. And if you rolled bad, it is possible that you could end up getting enough penalties to actually lower your hit points enough to kill you, and thus dying of old age via your hit points.
It's entirely true. Those kind of spells and those kind of effects were massive, and it was game altering. Of like, okay, you know what? Well, I just suffered an extra -1 to all of my hit dice. So, I'm 15th level. I just lost 15 hit points. I'm damaged. Oh, that brought me down. I'm down. And in 2nd edition, like, it wasn't, dropped to -half your hit points. It was -10. Or 1st edition, it was just like, you go below 0, you're dead. Like, you're not down. You're just gone.
It was unforgiving for sure.
So, like, and I'm not trying to, criticize the new edition, just, it's the stories and things that we've gone through, the things that we've lived with. They'll say, like, yeah, con sucks. Don't dump it.
We were traumatized at an early gaming age. But let us know what you think. If you like this video and want more like it, check out Dump Stats Playing Dumb in D&D.
If you want more Nerdarchy in your life, why not check us out over on Patreon and all the goodies that we got going on over there.
That's right. We do monthly products, weekly live chats, and our patrons are automatically entered in our monthly giveaway. And we also do a monthly fan game and more.
So until next time, stay
nerdy.